Welcome to Philosophy and Critical Thinking. In today's video, I'll be discussing a thought experiment called The Last Suit Dress, a thought experiment on consequentialism. Before discussing the thought experiment, I highly recommend my book, Contrasting Identities, Navigating Identity Politics Conversations. If you're interested in political philosophy, the Amazon links to this book are in the description. Imagine that you are in a store and there is a suit or a dress that you absolutely love. It's the last one on the rack. You grab the suit or dress and you bring it up to the counter, and as you're about to purchase it, the person at the counter says to you, "I should let you know that this suit dress has been made through slave labor, and the slave labor is so horrible that every single person who had contributed to making the dress or suit has died." You think about this and you immediately react that you probably shouldn't buy it. And there's a person right behind you who says, "If you do not buy this suit dress, don't worry, I'll buy it. I'm well aware of what the person at the counter has just told me, but I'm going to buy the suit dress anyway, even if you don't buy it." The question I'd like to ask from this thought experiment is, would you buy the last suit or dress? My instincts would say that we'd probably say we wouldn't, even though the person behind me would be willing to buy it as well. We'd still feel like it'd be wrong to buy the suit or dress. Consequentialism is an ethical theory. It'll be good to go over the basics of consequentialism to understand how this ethical theory might react to the thought experiment. Consequentialism says that you're morally obligated to do whatever results in the best consequences. There are different variations of consequentialism. Sometimes it's called utilitarianism, where they see the best consequences are what creates the most utility, and utility might in some cases be happiness or pleasure or absence of pain. There's different varieties out there, but we can just take it all as a given that the consequentialist says, we're going to think about what makes the world better, what creates the best consequences, and we should always do what does that the best. If in the second part of consequentialism that follows from this is that if there are no alternatives that can produce better consequences, then the act is morally permissible. What this is to say is, say you've got competing options on what you want to do in the world, that if they all produce the same amount of consequences, or good consequences, then you are morally allowed to do either option. So it doesn't really matter what you choose. For example, say I'm walking down the road and I decide to skip on my way to work, or I decide just to walk normally, or I choose to run to work. If the consequences are pretty much the same, then you can choose. You don't you're not morally obligated to pick one over the other, because the consequences are going to be the same. The third part here on consequentialism that follows is, if there are alternatives that can produce better consequences, then the act you chose is morally impermissible. So say you picked an option, but there was some other option you could have picked that would have done better consequences, then you've done the wrong thing by failing to choose the alternative that could have produced better consequences. So when we apply consequentialism to the thought experiment, it's far from obvious that a consequentialist would say that it's wrong to buy the suit or the dress, because the consequences are going to end up the same. Because we know that if we fail to buy the suit or dress, that somebody else is going to buy that suit or dress. And so it means that we're not creating any worse consequences by buying it, if you try to say, well, if you're going to buy the suit, then that's the last suit dress on the rack. It's going to motivate the store to purchase more of those suits that are and those dresses that are a result of slave labor. So you're keeping that suit dress company in business by doing that. You could easily say, well, the person right behind me is going to create that same outcome. So the outcome is going to be completely the same. So it is morally permissible for me to buy the suit or the dress. But then that goes against our instincts to say I'm still doing the wrong thing, even though it's producing the same consequences. There are also arguments of dignity and integrity that seem to be irrelevant to the consequentialist. If I say to myself, you know what? Yes, this other person's going to buy that suit dress. It's going to create the same consequences. But you know what? It's against my integrity. I'm on just on principle alone. I'm not going to buy that suit or dress. It's just wrong. And I'd say most of us would accept that as enough of a reason. If someone said, oh, well, that's irrelevant, it would seem like a strange response regarding morality and what's ethically right and wrong thing to do by saying, okay, I'm going to do something I know is wrong because the consequence is going to end up the same. Seems like a strange response we'd expect out of someone. If you'd like more videos and more thought experiments, you can go onto my website, philosophycriticalthinking.com, and also on that website there is a tutorial on thought experiments and arguments from analogy, which can help analyze what makes thought experiments good and what makes them not so good. Also, I highly recommend my book, once again, Contrasting Identities, Navigating Identity Politics Conversations. If you're interested in that topic, the Amazon links are in the description below. Thank you.